is Granny Maggie from Granny Magic, Professor of Earth Magic at Dead University. As always, honoring your magic. I've been receiving messages from a lot of people who, when they were children, felt very spiritually aligned and had obvious spiritual experiences and spiritual gifts, or so it seemed. And now that they're adults, they're wondering, where did all that go? Is there a way to get it back again? Well, I'm not sure about why so many people become adults and lose touch with their spiritual gifts. I do know that it's very common for children to have spiritual experiences. And then I think sometimes they're taught not to talk about them, to sort of repress those. There's something not quite right about them, is the message they receive. Or it just could be that other things intervene in our lives and the time and the space for those gifts to grow gets taken up. What I do know is there are ways to reawaken and to work with those gifts and to develop them further. There's a lot of different methods. There's a lot of different books. There's a lot of material and teachers out there who are willing to help you learn to develop these spiritual gifts. My tips start, first of all, with making some space in your life. Some space in your life to meditate, some space to immerse yourself in nature. We're spirit incarnate. So that spirit is actually enmeshed with this natural world around us. And by experiencing wild areas, forests, sloughs, swamps, fields, the wilder the better, that energy stimulates our energy. We start really vibing and feeling oneness with that creation around us, taking us back to that fundamental source of energy. And so those things really do help. There are also meditations that are guided visualizations. There are so many of them available on YouTube. And you can choose a meditation or a guided visualization for just about anything. And some of them are very, very good. And taking the time to do some of those regularly will also help you. Paying attention to synchronicities around you. Numbers, something that's more than just a coincidence that happens. Signs, omens. Start keeping a journal. If something keeps appearing to you regularly over and over, jot it down. How does it make you feel? What do you think it might relate to? And then if something happens that you feel is aligned with those signs, write it down, and it helps you start to understand the patterns because they're personal. They're very personal for each person. And I know there's certain symbols that are considered to be universal symbols, and there's universal archetypes. And there are those kinds of broad, over branching things. They're even cross-cultural many times, which makes them archetypes. But at the same time, each of us is different, and each of us has different guides, and each of us has different ancestors. So here's the next thing. I strongly suggest you get in touch with some type of spirit from the other side. If you're a Christian, you can do what I do. I often invite in Father God, Mother Goddess, and Holy Child, the Trinity. I also call in the spirits of my house and this place. I'm very familiar with the spirits in my large yard. I also call in my spirit guides, and I invite in my holy ancestors. And I'm in touch with these spirit sources of guidance on the other side. And I invite them, please send me signs. This is what I'm working on. Express gratitude, directly invite them into your life, directly ask them to guide you and to send you signs. Even if you might feel a little silly doing it in the beginning, keep doing it. Light a candle, put out a bowl of water, and reach out to the other side. I think it's also helpful in the very beginning to work with crystals, to meditate with them and hold them in your hand and feel their energy. And you'll feel yourself aligning more with certain crystals than others. There's certain types of music, and they're meant for various kinds of things. Branch out a little, try some of the mindfulness music, try some of the spiritual music that's out there, and see which of those things you respond to. Have it on in the background. You'll start to see what sends you messages and what you're aligned with. For some people, music is very powerful. The lyrics to a song on the radio, and they know it's sending them a personal message. There's just so many possibilities. It's all about opening up space for that awareness. And then acting on the signs that you get and journaling what happens. Then you'll see what was a true sign. Then you'll see what was maybe your trauma from the past speaking to you. Oh, that was actually fear in my gut of something that happened a long time ago. I shouldn't have listened to that maybe. I need to deal with that in a different way. And that's where our shadow work comes in. But in opening up these gifts, it's just very important to open the space and to not doubt yourself. That's another big aspect. When we want to prove something, when we're doubting, but we're going to just give it a try, that's not conducive to really developing your gifts. You're not keeping a record to prove you were right, but more so that you understand what your particular vibes are, what your particular signals are, what works for you. You're not trying to prove that you have it or you don't have it. You're learning to work with it and see how it works for you. A pendulum is very useful in the beginning. I have a really good article on working with pendulums that I can send people if they're interested. It's one of the ways I can communicate with the other side, as well as a way of getting advice, divination of what is a picture of my energy at this point in time. And if it continues this way, where will it go? And then I know whether or not I want to intervene. So a pendulum is a great place to start. Diving in to tarot cards, oracle cards, anything like that, whatever appeals to you and doesn't make you feel overwhelmed. There's plenty of time for further growth and finding out what your particular exact gifts are and how they're best used and managed. So that's kind of, all of that's kind of farther on. But the biggest thing is to believe in yourself, to know that the gifts are there. We're spirit. We're meant for this. Religion has co-opted this to a certain extent, but that's why so many people are hungry for what religion offers them. They're looking for answers because they know they're spirit. They have a soul, they have a spirit. But you can directly work with those things yourself. And you will find that once you start working with your gifts, a lot of your anxieties will disappear. If you've had panic attacks, for example, they usually get better as you work with your spiritual gifts. If you repress that kind of energy and knowledge and keep it in your subconscious, it's going to come out and it's going to come out in strange ways. It's going to impact you sometimes in sort of negative ways because it's trying to get you to pay attention to the message. So please, if you're interested in developing your gifts, trust yourself and just start doing it. I post a ton of things, and I don't have them all stored on my phone. I can't just send you a lot of material most of the time. And I have so many comments, I can't really go into depth in comments or even in my DMs. I get too many messages. However, one of the books in my shop that I highly recommend is The Psychic Witch, and I think there's more to the title, but it's by Matt, Auryn, Oren. And that's a really good book to start with because it does approach magic and witchcraft from this psychic spiritual perspective. Because most people with spiritual gifts want to go farther than just working with herbs, aligning themselves with crystals. In a sense, that's earth magic. That's what goes on around you all the time that you learn, and you learn being a wise woman, a wise man, a cunning woman, a cunning man. But to do real magic, it really helps to have contacts on the other side and work with spiritual energies from the other side with your spiritual gifts. And so I really highly recommend that as a good place to start with that book. I'd like to add, dreams are also a very potent way of learning to develop and work with any kind of psychic spiritual senses that you have. And you can do that by putting a charm bag of different herbs and crystals under your pillow. I've posted a lot of different posts on this. Amethyst is one of the most common that you slip under your pillow. Mugwort, wormwood. There's different herbs that you can add in a charm bag. And before you go to bed, set out a journal and a pen. Announce in some way out loud that you intend to remember your dreams and that you're looking for some type of message or connection, and be very specific with whom. Ancestors, spirit guides. Don't leave it wide open. Trust me. And then when you wake up, if you remember a dream, jot it down in the journal. If you don't remember your dream, jot that down too, because you're programming yourself. You're telling your brain, every day, I'm going to see if I can remember my dream. I'm looking for some kind of a message or a connection. And your mind will reinforce that. And that will encourage you to, in a sense, to remember your dreams. So, this is my answer to, I had spiritual gifts as a child. Where'd they go? Can I still work with those? Big yes, big yes. Believe in yourself and start tomorrow. It's not something you have to do in a formal way. So many blessings to all of you out there and all the spiritual gifts you have that are going to enlighten and brighten your life.